Greetings. Thank you for joining us. This is Will with Perpetual Assets. Excited to have a good friend back on the line, Mr. Bix Weir. His work can be found on the website roadtoruta.com, founder of the Road to Ruta theory, an incredible theory, very applicable today. Bix, how are you, buddy? Welcome back.
I'm good. It's really exciting to see all these changes, and I think the good guys are in their final days of getting people in place before they let the rest of humanity know what's going on behind the scenes. It's really exciting.
Yes, there's so much going on, and there's so much weirdness going on. Let's start with Trump and with the inauguration. Today's Tuesday, the 17th. So the inauguration is in 3 or 4 days coming up. This week, you can almost feel the uncertainty in the air. Trump, you hold the position that he is part of the good guys. We can look at. I know you've analyzed a lot of these cabinet positions that he's been these appointees that he's been bringing in, and some of them are questionable at best. I think my 2 cents, Bix. Tell me if you agree. In draining the swamp, one must first navigate the swamp, and I think I had a client put it pretty interestingly. He doesn't want to sink his ship before he can even get anything done, before he can even swear in, for that matter. And our mutual friend Cliff High, something in his report mentioned coming up later in the year, potential turmoil in the Trump administration, which maybe suggests that he's going to surround himself with some of these people, and if they don't actually go his route, maybe he'll pull the old "you fired" move.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of Trump. He had to put some of these guys in place, or he would have been taken out. There's no doubt about it. And they're still talking. We're 3 or 4 days away, and they're still talking about trying to take him out. And take him out, I mean assassinate him. I mean, let's just not mix words. That's what they do. If they can't get these, their people in the right places, these bad guys I'm talking about, then they pull John Kennedy, and they get away with it, or they have gotten away with it in the past. Mm-hmm. Now, so I think there's some of that going on. Yes, Trump is the best in the world at firing people. He's also best in the world at reorganizing after a bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. So, and I think all that stuff is coming up. The two guys that I was not happy about hearing that Trump, there's a lot of them, but that Trump is putting in place is Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary. This guy was the computer rigger. He's in charge of computer rigging at Goldman Sachs. I mean, that's kind of the heart of darkness as far as market manipulation. He was in charge of IT at Goldman Sachs. So that one kicked off a lot of kind of bells and whistles. Although, that's exactly what our Treasury Secretary has done for the past, since the early 70s with the Fed, is rig the markets via computers. That's what Root A is. It's a computer term from the very basic beginnings of our monetary system. So when this guy Mnuchin got in, I'm like, oh shit, here we go, more rigging. But that's not even the worst guy. The worst guy is the guy he put in charge of the Army. Mm-hmm. And that guy's Vincent Viola, who I've talked about for 10 years now. He was the guy. He ran one of the largest stock markets right when Bernie Madoff was doing all that of his stuff. When he was running, I think Bernie ran the NASDAQ. And so Vincent Viola is a computer market rigger, started a company called EWT LLC, which was an authorized participant of the silver ETF, the SLV ETF. And I was like, why? All the authorized participants, because it's supposed to be a physical ETF, physical silver. You put cash in, they put physical silver in. We've come to learn that's not exactly true. Mm-hmm. But I was always, why is a high frequency trading firm an authorized participant? And they only had like 20 employees at the time, authorized participant of a silver ETF. So they're pulling silver in and taking silver out. And then, I ran the track record on this guy. It goes back to Robert Rubin's early days of rigging markets. And then EWT turned into Virtu Financial. which Zero Hedge has talked about a lot, because they went like, I think it was 2 or 3 years without ever having a loss in a single day. And they're a market. They call themselves a market maker, but all it means is they're skimming off the top as orders come in. And yeah, you can't lose in a trade like that. So yeah, and putting him, I think he got thrown out of the Army as well when he was at West Point, or he was involved in that big scandal back in the 70s. I'm not happy about those two guys. The rest, we'll see. Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, I think, given what Dianne Feinstein said, her first question to him was all about what are you going to do about the biggest problem in the United States right now, child trafficking.
Could you believe that? I mean, and wasn't it DynCorp that was questioned in 2008 or in the Senate, or yes, right? When the same question.
Yep, and it is the biggest problem. It's the biggest problem that nobody talks about too. Right. And it will. This is a global problem, and it's completely knee deep in the elites of not every government, but the Western governments definitely. So I'm very hopeful that they're going to pull the plug on the child trafficking and pedophilia and all that. So yeah, I'm excited that Jeff Sessions will be in there. I think. I don't know. They're trying to say he's a racist. He's from the South, so that automatically, you're white and you're from the South, they're going to call you a racist.
Yep.
But I think this transition that the good guys are trying to foment is something that is impossible to do. But I think they know they have to get the right people in the right places at the right time. Mm-hmm. But the big problem is, what is the right time? When is the right time to pull the plug on everything? That's the problem that everybody struggled with. So keep an eye on it. It's definitely different, and there are definitely things going on behind the scenes way bigger than what we can see in the news media.
Bix, would you say that it's fair to say that some of these people, these questionable people that are being put into power or cabinet positions or what have you, perhaps are being used by these good forces because they have a need to be in that particular position based on their knowledge, based on their connections, based on what have you, and in this entire transition, in this monetary reset, and that if they don't play ball with the agenda, the good guy agenda, then perhaps they'll just be weeded out. But that perhaps they're strategically being put in place to be used, to be used in aid in this transition.
That's one of the theories, and I think some of them might be like that. But that tells me that the market rigging will continue to go on. Mm-hmm. Trump gets in, which I don't think is a very good basis for a new America.
Right.
That's the strange thing about Trump's motto or slogan, "Make America Great Again," is that. When are we talking? What kind of America are we talking? Are we talking about the last 100 years that we were great because we rigged the markets? Mm-hmm. Is that the kind of great we want in America? Just read John Perkins's book, and you'll see how we became great in the last 100 years. Mm-hmm. I don't want that kind of great. I would say I would want the great, before the invention of the Federal Reserve back in the early 1900s. Mm-hmm. Kind of in between there, but there was also all kinds of crap going on. I liked America when our government was fighting the bankers, not controlled by the bankers. Mm-hmm. I would like to go back to that great America, mm-hmm. but there was always issues and problems and corruption, and there always will be, truthfully. But I do think this is a time. I don't believe in making America great through market manipulation and coercion, and starting wars mm-hmm. to gain other people's natural resources. But I do believe in making America great and going back to our founding fathers' ideas of what we ought to be. So if that's Trump's idea, I'm all for it. If it's not, if his make America great by making us the most powerful economic engine in the world again through deceit and dishonesty and market manipulation, I'm not on board with that.
No, No, not for that. Couldn't we say that we just it all really lies in truth and honesty? Can we just have truth and honesty in our markets, in our political process, in our government? Obviously, our government would have to probably be 1/100th of its current size in order to accomplish that. But yeah, I mean,
I'd say 1/1000th of its current
or a
size.
millionth even. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
it's unfathomably massive at this point, right? So some
But I
of the
think that's
things.
part of that's I think that's part of the plan is to
Mhm.
once the monetary system crashes, they can't afford to pay the 34 million people who work for the U.S. government.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's what is it? When did we recently pass the halfway barrier, where more than half of all salary revenues come from federal government? In other words, half of the income in the country comes from people working for the government. So some of the things that he's been saying, I really stand behind, and I think it's probably why a lot of us want to rally with Mr. Trump. The vaccine exposure. I mean, he's said some pretty anti-vaccine comments. In fact, who did he just appoint? One of the Kennedy Jr., who's openly anti-vaccine, to some vaccine safety panel or health safety panel or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's great news. There's a lot of it though.
Mhm.
There's a lot of guys and things that are happening that is correct. And, the whole wall thing is a crack up. I always said Mexico's going to want to build a wall. If they let silver go to where it needs to go to reach fair market value, say $1,000 silver, Mexico will be the richest nation in the world. They will build a wall to keep people out,
Yep.
and they pay for it. And I think that's what Trump, when he went down to Mexico, I think that's what he told the president of Mexico is, we're not going to rig the markets anymore. We're going to let gold and silver go where they may. So your country is going to do very well. Just, give us a little time, and then you'll see that you're going to want to build that wall, and you're going to want to pay for it.
That's very interesting. So silver, obviously, it's the Achilles heel. It's to our entire financial system, to the debt based fiat system. Silver plays such an incredibly intricate role in our financial system. Hence the incredible necessity by the powers that be to suppress its price. You mentioned SLV. So interesting how these ETFs were created with the sole purpose to divert capital, to divert cash that was going to be going into the metals and put it into these phony ETFs that don't hold any of it. So that there have been incredible machinations, incredible market, sectors of the market created and built simply to suppress the price of silver. It's the kind of story, it's a once in a lifetime, a once in humanity kind of thing. I think that silver's days are numbered at these
You mean silver
prices.
manipulation?
The manipulation days are numbered, and I think the days of these prices of sub $100 silver, I think those days are very quickly numbered. Like this year numbered, maybe even first quarter. I don't know. I don't. Nobody wants to put time frames on this stuff. Trump's about to swear in, though. You're saying that the Viola appointee is a huge connection to silver manipulation. Maybe he's going to be used as an instrumental part to help break free or let it open up, let Pandora's box open. What do you think, man? Are people gonna? Is the market gonna dry up? I mean, once silver snaps, or will there be a period of trading that takes place at $100 and $150 silver, where people are buying the stuff hand over fist if they can get it?
Well, that's kind of where we need to kind of stop and think about what these markets really are, because they aren't physical silver markets. There isn't a physical silver market on the planet Earth right now. You can convert some of these silver derivatives on the COMEX or the LBMA. Supposedly you can convert them to physical silver, but there is no pricing mechanism for physical silver on planet Earth today. Will there ever be? And for that matter, there's no pricing mechanism for gold, and there's no pricing mechanism for Bitcoin either. They're all derivative mechanisms, and that's kind of a scary thought. What would a true market in silver? What kind of price would that kick out? If there weren't derivatives attached, you wouldn't see 100, 500,000 times the trades versus the amount of physical available, which you see in silver, gold, and Bitcoin right now, what would a real market be where you walk in with, $1,000 in cash and you walk out with a certain amount of silver? That would be a real market with real market pricing. And is that going to be set up at some time when these derivatives implode? Because there can't be $100 silver prices on the COMEX, because the short position would be too large for any bank, because they have to have a short for every long there's a short. And that would be, that's why they had to protect the $50 silver, because you need, on those markets, you need someone to take the other side of the trade. So yeah, I think the COMEX and the LBMA will shut down at some point during this transition, which will be very scary for gold and silver holders because they won't know what their metal's worth. It won't be publicized, other than going down to your local coin shop, and they'd probably close up because they work on a fiat monetary system. They pay their employees with fiat money, so it's going to be very chaotic when the final bell rings, shall we say.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the chaos that specifically in silver is going to look like for guys like you and me who have clients and family members who are going to be, when do I sell this stuff? What do I do? What's going on? What does this mean, Bix, to stocks, bonds, fiat currencies, IRAs, savings accounts, cash in the bank? What's safe?
Well, as bad as the exchanges are with virtual assets, all those things you just said are all virtual as well, and they've been rehypothecated to the thousands percentage as well. The price of the U.S. dollar is determined on the derivative markets. Just look at the derivatives for interest rate swaps and things like that. Hundreds of trillions of dollars. What is really being priced here, and how is it priced? And there are, the only free markets I think are, your local grocery store maybe, but those aren't even free markets, because you've got on the COMEX they trade wheat futures and oil and gas futures, and prices are determined on the electronic virtual exchange, controlled by the people who control the computers that do the trading. Mm-hmm. So it does get really confusing as to what is what, and virtual assets will go away. It's amazing that this system, the electronic financial system, which was created in the 1960s and 70s, the guy who first created it was Alan Greenspan, and I've proven that time and time again, and people are just starting to recognize that. But then, it was taken over by the banks. Electronic assets became more and more viable in the late 70s, early 80s, going into the 80s and 90s until today. They are practically, now they're trying to get rid of cash, so it's the virtual assets held by these credits, these banks and 401k companies. They do the same thing that the banks do. It's a virtual system that is massively rehypothecated, meaning they create more, they sell more of these assets than they actually have, and they trade them. That's the key. So yeah, stocks are a fractional reserve system, just like the monetary system is fractional reserve. So fractional reserve systems, when a bank, they'll loan out $10 for every $1, but when people come back to get their money out of the bank, they have to sell off 10-to-1 assets. That's how the implosions happen, and that's how this one will happen. So the same thing will happen with stocks. When people try to get out of the stock market, these brokerage houses who never bought the stock in the first place, they just credited your account and they put everything into a pool, are going to have to go out there and try to sell this stuff. It won't be able to sell. The prices will crash. And then at the end of the day, there's really nothing there. Mm-hmm. And it's all virtual blips caught up in a bankruptcy that cannot be resolved, really. The only way to resolve the unwinding of this fractional reserve system that we live in is to destroy it all, unfortunately.
Ironic, isn't it, that the baby boomers are probably the least IT savvy generation, just because of just timing when computers came about, right? I mean, you think of your mom, you think of your trying to help them with the email, and I'm not trying to say that all baby boomers are IT retarded, but for the most part, they are the most IT challenged generation. Yet they hold countless trillions of dollars in IT assets. I mean, they have their entire life savings in these financial blips, and it's like normal. It's okay. It's I can log in to this internet portal on my stock account or my
Yeah.
IRA account, and I see all these little zeros and ones and twos and these little digits, and that's what I've worked my whole life for.
Well, they don't. It's not necessarily that they trust the blips. They trust the establishments that hold their wealth for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they trust in Bank of America and Wells Fargo Bank and Bankers Trust and Schwab, and because those were the solid granite establishments of their youth, and no, they can't go away, and Morgan Stanley can't go away, and they had trust in that, and then over time they believed and that they didn't have to hold the stock certificates and all that. And because back in when they were kids, they had stock certificates that they held in their in their safe deposit box, and there was very little. Well, there probably was rehypothecation, but nothing like we have now with high frequency trading and algo trading and all that. These shares are traded. I think on the average it's like every 10 days, the total float of the company is traded back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. When 90% of these people never trade their stocks, they just keep it in their account and they don't think about it and don't talk about it. And they look and see if it goes up every quarter based on the statement that they're given. But they never bought those stocks. Those stocks were never put in their name. They were even not even bought for the most part. Maybe 1 in 10 was purchased by Schwab or their retirement company. But they're put into a pool, and that pool is held by Seed and Company, which is the DTCC holding company, which I wouldn't say nobody knows who owns Seed and Company, because there was a congressional investigation in the 1970s. They did find out who it was, and it is a specific entity, supposedly. A lot of people think it's the Rothschilds, and it could be, or it could be some other entity. We don't know. But legal ownership of a share of stock is only enforceable if you have a justice system behind it and a cop to go out and say, yes, Mr. Rothschild owns the entire earth. Mm-hmm. And would the people allow that? No, they're not gonna. Mm-hmm. So
interesting, man. It's straight.
You just brought me down a rabbit hole, and you go down these rabbit holes. It's like, oh my God, how do you get out of this? And there is only one way: crash the system and start fresh.
Yep. Well, that's certainly, that's what we can hope for. Back to silver briefly we talked briefly about some storage. I just want to get your thoughts on, what if somebody was thinking about taking, sending a chunk of silver up to Brinks, Canada, a chunk of silver to mom's house to be put in a hole in the ground, a chunk over here and a chunk over there. What are your thoughts with something like that? What are your thoughts with specifically Canadian storage? If we have a full-on social meltdown, crazy madness, do you think we'll have nationalization by countries? Like, if you don't hold it, you really don't own it? What are your thoughts?
I think there's no reason to add layers of risk to your assets. If you don't hold it, that's another layer of risk. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, Canada's a better place to store your metal." My take is, if you're Canadian and live in Canada and want one layer of risk, if you're an American living in America, you have 2 layers of risk. One, you're not a citizen, and most likely when the monetary system collapses, we will go back to some form of gold and silver monetary system, either a backing of currency or something to that effect. And I would assume every nation in the world will be closing their borders to any gold and silver leaving their country in that scenario. Yeah. That's why all this gold and silver is in these exchanges are held in London, is because England knows if you don't hold it, you don't own it, and
Mm-hmm.
they will nationalize all that metal. And I just don't believe in a third party storage unless you have to,
Right.
unless there are reasons that you have to, or that you want to. Some of these gold or silver backed credit cards. I think it's a great idea because we still have to use credit cards while the system is going,
Mm-hmm.
but don't keep a lot of your metal there, just enough to facilitate your transactions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say only if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Why add layers of risk of having your metal or your Bitcoin not in your own possession?
Well, that's one of that's I know that's been I felt strongly that way with a lot of these storage facilities, the depositories. Part of the big reason for the IRA LLC, getting your metal where you store it yourself, or where you control storage yourself in a private trust or private facility if you're not putting it in a hole in your backyard. The depositories, where if you're going to have an IRA, gold or silver IRA, the traditional ones, that's where these are held, and they're all Delaware depository typically. Where these depositories are certain percentage COMEX holders as well. Probably many layers of promises on the same bar of silver, if you will, at places like that. But you think it? I mean, you think it could potentially? This could be so big. We could see such massive valuations on silver. We're talking about a rewriting of the monetary system. So we could see drastic moves taken by even, typically run-of-the-mill countries like Canada. No, we have to nationalize the silver. Even private companies like Brinks that are storing it here.
Well,
Anything's
yeah. I
possible.
mean, if you're looking at a scenario where the government of Canada, if there is a financial collapse and gold and silver do go crazy, stratospheric type numbers, you're going to have every citizen in Canada saying, "Oh my God, we have nothing. We've lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
What's within our border? What can we get our hands on and redistribute wealth to our nation?"
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen, and that's why I'm so anti. Not well, I'm anti mining companies and mining company shares because I know the value that they possess is so great and will be in such need by humanity when this thing falls apart that no country is going to allow people to own the nation's wealth and control the nation's wealth after this crash, because everybody will have lost everything. They can vote you out of your wealth in a blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm. Very good point.
Now, and that has to do with the large depositories as well. Now, these depositories, don't forget that they have their employees and they have a business to run as well that runs off fiat money. They will not have the fiat money. You can't pay the guards to guard the wealth, and the guards are, they have lost everything as well, and they're standing there with the keys to the safe, and their family is at home starving. They're going to open the safe, take the metal back to their family, and try to ride out this thing with that wealth is my position. If the government doesn't come in first and seize it and say, hey, this is for the good of the citizens, we're going to have to confiscate this wealth. We'll give you something, maybe, depends what country you're in. In the United States, they'll probably, they'll give you the value that gold and silver was right before the crash, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But something, yeah, they're not going to let you be the wealthiest human on Earth while the rest of their population is dying off.
Yeah, let's just imagine a day in the future regarding with silver, where we not only have entered this monetary crisis, but potentially there's a lot of talk of new energy technologies coming to light, and it's very likely that silver might be a prominent component. It already is in the energy world, for its conductivity and for its other incredible properties. So
Yes.
we might envision a world in the future where silver is not only the backbone to our monetary system, but it might also be a backbone to new energy technologies and making cleaner, affordable energy affordable to the masses. and silver might be the main component to that. I mean, the numbers that we could assign to the value of it could be, as you've said, Bix, astronomical.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that silver will be reintroduced as a monetary instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is just what you said. There are better uses for silver, physical silver, than on the monetary side. Back when silver was money, back, electronics weren't that big. There weren't a lot of other uses, in historical money for gold and silver. Silver is the best conductor of electricity. It has so many other industrial applications that I think in the long run, gold will be used as a monetary instrument because I know there's a lot more gold out there than what we're being told by the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and the Road to Ruta work and the publications that came out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston are screaming that. Mm-hmm. Especially this little booklet that was released the same day as the Road to Ruta comics. It's called Banking Basics, and it shows, it talks about the basics of banking. But the pictures in it show little kids going into a bank with, exchanging paper for these like 20 large 1-ounce gold coins, and people standing in line with gold coins in their hands at an ATM and things like that. So there are hints that, and just the front of the new $100 bill has gold all over it. It talks about overthrowing your government written in gold. So yeah, I think gold is going to be a part of our monetary future. I think Bitcoin will be part of our monetary future. I don't think silver will be, because I think it'll be too valuable to waste as money.
Wow, that's just beautiful. That might be the quote right there. Too valuable to waste as money.
It's true, and times have changed. Mm-hmm. Times are different. It is not it is not the 1800s, the 1700s. Silver has always been the people's money because there was not a lot of other use for silver. Mm-hmm. Back in the early days, it was more plentiful than gold. Now it's kind of the opposite. There's a lot of use for silver, and it's not. I don't even think it's as plentiful as gold. I think the gold-silver ratio will be closer to 1-to-1 when this is all over. So
I think you're right, which is so hard to even fathom. But yeah, you're right. Silver is it's technology's metal. And how important to the world today is information technology, computers, all of it, right? We are exploding in our growth as humanity with information technology, and we have driverless cars already, for God's sakes. It's just a matter of time. So the applications, the uses for silver, because of its technological properties, are only going to increase. I mean, there are probably new technologies or new gadgets, new things that we can't even imagine that'll exist in 5 or 10 years that will be since silver will be instrumental in their use and functionality.
It's more than that. I think there have been hidden technologies over the past 100 years, hidden by our government against us, because they did not want to disrupt the monetary system. The petrodollar type of system would have been disrupted if you came out with free energy made with this, these silver batteries or things like that, or very cheap energy. That's the stuff that's being has been hidden from us since before Tesla's time. So yeah, I think the future, and this all kind of comes back to what is Trump when he gets into office? If he gets into office, what is he going to let the people be aware of? And are we going to have this huge rush of a technological tidal wave flow over us with the release of all these incredible inventions that have been hidden from us over the past, who knows, at least 100 years? And I think that's the most exciting thing. And then there's new stuff. Yeah, potentially coming out of like Antarctica that a lot of people are talking about, and technology down there. But I think just the hidden patents that have, for national security issues, have been hidden away. I think just that stuff will make the price of silver just go through the roof.
That's a good point. The petrodollar, right? The petrodollar does not, the strength, the last 100 years of strength of the petrodollar does not only entail upholding the debt-based fiat monetary system, it entails propping up oil and making oil the world's primary resource, because it is the reason that, the petrodollar's existence, forcing countries that were trading oil or anything else to do so in the dollar, therefore creating, conjuring up demand for the dollar. So in order to support that, you also have to what? Suppress any other simpler, freer energy technologies that might come about.
And that's exactly what's been done. I mean, they've been able to extract hydrogen from water, H2O. How hard is it to do that and then burn hydrogen? Or magnetic energy or 0 point energies. There's so many energies and ways to do things better than the petroleum-based system. And such a huge chunk of humanity's energy and jobs and everything is like involved in that industry, that it got to a point where they said, even if we wanted to release it, we couldn't because of the disruption.
Right.
But now everything's going to get disrupted anyway when you end this fiat monetary system, and the way to end it is just to stop the market rigging. And that would end everything, because the derivative system would blow and that would take everything else out. So yeah, it's all possible once we shut this monetary system down, and that's where the bad guys get their power too, is the unbacked fiat system. And you take that down, and they don't have any henchmen to run around and cause trouble, and George Soros would be shut down. And I think we're getting there right now.
Yeah. The news of Hungary, the country of Hungary, it was Hungary, wasn't it? Going after these NGOs, these non-government organizations that are all
and Soros himself. Yeah, they're going after Soros, and we will too. Get Trump in office. That's all we got to do, is get past Friday, get the right people in the right places, and then we can start seeing the changes that we're hearing about.
3 more days, man. 3 more days. Bix, talk to me about Anarchapulco. Anarchapulco is as a conference. Gus and I, with Perpetual Assets, was there last year. We're going again this year. Bix will be there speaking. A whole host of awesome speakers. It was an awesome show last year because of the vibe, because of the people. It was all a bunch of us, a bunch of like-minded folks, hanging out in this beautiful city, Acapulco, Mexico, and just discussing liberty and everything else. I'm excited to see you and your lovely better half down there and see you speak as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. Jeff Berwick throws that event, and it's so much. I've never been. I've seen videos, and I've been, Jeff's been telling me, hey, you got to get down. So this year we're going down there. And I promised my wife Amy a vacation also. So I said, hey, I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone right there. So yeah, we're excited about going down there and just hanging out with these crazy anarchists, which you gotta love them. And they're doing their own thing, and they're brilliant people, and they think differently and they act differently. And I'm real excited about it. So at everybody who's listening to this, check it out. Go to, is it anarchapulco.com or?
Yeah, Anarchapulco. It's a mouthful. We'll have a link. We'll have a banner that we'll put in this interview, and we'll put in the we'll put on the page, so where you can
come down, come party with us in Acapulco for a week. It's gonna be a blast. Bill Murphy's going down, I hear. David Morgan's going down, I hear. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you get those people in one city, and look out.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And the peso to the dollar right now, is it like all time? I mean, last year it was incredible. Gus and I literally thought I go down to Mexico quite a bit. I live in San Diego, so Baja and even different areas, right? Well, some of them are so Americanized and still so expensive. You go to Acapulco, and it is all, there's no gringos there. It is the closest beach town or beach city to Mexico City, the largest city in the world. So it's where all of the Mexican it's where all the Mexicans go from Mexico City and the surrounding area for the weekend, So, but its point being is it's cheap. It's so awesome and cheap down there. So anyway, click the link if you guys want to come join us. Gus and I are going for the whole week. It's going to be a blast. Well, my friend, as always, it's a pleasure. It's been a blast. Anything else you want to add? We'll, of course, have links to your website, roadtoruta.com. Your books are out there. Your reports that you're putting out now. The last one I downloaded of your analysis of the magazine. The Economist cover as being a very positive analysis. Really interesting stuff.
And the inside cover, the inside calendar, is night and day from last year's calendar. So yeah, that's interesting. I do want to. I know this interview has been kind of scary to people who have money in their 401ks and all that, and there is a way around it. Call Will at Perpetual Assets. He will walk you through the steps of how you can get your money out of the system, out of the rehypothecated system, and into your own hands. Most people that I recommend holding U.S. Silver Eagles and Bitcoin, but you can also hold Gold Eagles and all kinds of different investments. Call Will if you have money that you can move from your 401k or your retirement accounts. And it gets a little tricky, but now is a great time. You got stock market at all-time highs and silver at all-time lows. So what a time to switch.
Yeah.
Call Will.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, no, it's when you realize you can get those assets, I should put quotes around that, out of Merrill Lynch or any of these organizations where they're stuck in mutual funds, and you can put it in silver, Bitcoin, gold, proper real estate, anything imaginable.
Held in your own possession too.
Exactly. That's the kicker. Well, brother, man, I really let's do this again. Gosh, it's so soon. I say next week would be too soon, but after the inauguration, I feel like so much might change. We may have to have you back on next week.
Anytime.
All right, buddy. Hey, look forward to seeing you down in Mexico, and talk to you soon. Thanks again, as always.
Bye bye.